Mr. Bishop, Brother McCarthy, Shay, at talking, I'm going to say. And I am better at writing, and I wrote mine. So, no apologies for notes, Brother McCarthy. So I'm basically going to read it. And I'll try not to get off topic and throw in comments, because then I'll screw it up. So here we go. This day has sadly been coming for a few years now, and it has, slowly. My precious husband began suffering from dementia more than 3 years ago. At least that's when we could tell. It came on suddenly and it ended suddenly, which is unusual, but he was unusual. In between was a battle that had several stages, and I learned that loving someone in sickness and in health, I learned what it means. Big time. But I would have kept nurturing and loving him longer, years longer, had he been given more time. But it's a blessing for him that he has gone to his rest in paradise. I'm just going to miss him so much, and I already do. So, our story, in a nutshell. I found the love of my life late in life. We both had lives before we became a couple. We came to each other with lots of history, lots of baggage. He had one son who you just saw, and who you can tell turned out absolutely wonderfully. Here I am commenting in between. One son, and I had 4 kids, and now there are a total of 8 grandchildren between us. It didn't matter where we'd been in life, because the bond between us was obvious from the moment we got to know each other. The years between us in age didn't matter either, and yes, he was older than I, although he didn't like to admit it sometimes to people. Paul was a very interesting guy right from the start. I'd met him years ago, long before we would ever have a relationship. Our first sight of each other was in 1992, 30 years ago. We've only actually been married for 6 years, by the way. We worked in the same office for only 3 months in 1992, but I never forgot him. All I knew was that he was a newly divorced man with a young son and had made a record album with his former wife, Donna. His job at our office was land sales, and mine was secretary. But my position ended at the end of the summer of 1992, and I didn't see much of him after that. Fast forward to 2003, when I got divorced and we got together. From that moment on, he was the love of my life, and I knew I was his. We still had many hurdles, and they did not get out of the way until I joined this church in 2011. And that's a long story. But later in 2013, he joined it as well. I don't think there are many in this room that don't know he had a history of alcoholism before we were in the church, and I had a history of being attracted to it. He called that codependence, and it's probably what got us together in one way. His addiction and my enabling codependence no longer kept us apart once we were in the church, once I was in the church, because I just changed. The happy ending is that the strength of this church and the support and fellowship and my own willingness to let go and let God brought Paul to a miraculous sobriety. Calling it a miracle, he was getting up there. He was over 70 years old, and most people did not think he would ever stop drinking. He died 6 years sober. He was always the kindest man, but now he was also strong. He knew how to let God keep him sober. By 2015, here we were, marrying in this very church building in the sweetest civil ceremony, and some of you were there. One of you, who was up here doing this, she planned the whole thing. She did a lot more today, too. She made the program. That's Laura Cook. We started the best part of life off together at last, happy and healthy. 1 year later, we got sealed in the Philadelphia Temple for time and all eternity, meaning in our faith that we would be husband and wife much longer than death do us part. The comfort that brings me now is immeasurable. I can't discount the years from 2003 to 2015, when we had many great times together, even with the less than healthy lifestyles. Oh, how we laughed, laugh, just like in church, and the fun we had. Our love was real, and we knew we were soulmates. I never understood that. I never understood what it was until I loved Paulie. Paulie was a man of many talents. He could write songs and play piano and guitar without reading music so well. He just rocked out. He thought his singing voice wasn't good, but he was always on key, and I loved his ballad voice. He was also a great joke teller and sleight of hand magician. No matter how many times I watched him make the coin disappear, I could never see it go into his lap. I knew it did, but I could not catch it happening. That didn't serve me well later when he got dementia and I needed to give him his pills. Did he keep them in his mouth? It sure looked like it. He never lost that skill. We both loved cats, and he spoiled them furiously. I tried to dial him back, but our fur babies always got a new can of food when they came begging. When I first knew Paul, he had a cat in his house, and I saw how much he loved that cat. He treated her kindly and cared. I remember saying to myself, you can tell a lot about a man by the way he treats his cat. And I was not wrong. The man was gentle and loving. When we got married, he brought his new kitty, Molly, to our home from his apartment. She is the most darling cat, and I promised him on his deathbed that I would always take care of little Molly May. That's what he liked to call her, Molly May. He was pretty much unresponsive medically, but I think I saw his face relax. It's funny how at the end dementia does not seem to block out the communication of two spirits. In fact, the hospice lady told me that too. It seemed to be so. Paul loved his family. He was always proud when he talked about his wonderful son Shay, and amazed when Shay and his wife Danielle had a son in March of 2018. He knew little Milo for a short time before he started losing his memory, and will only know baby Vivian from his place in heaven until we all meet in the spirit world one day. He loved his sister Nan and her husband Jim, and talked about Nan all the time to me from the moment I met him. They grew up together, and Nan will miss Paul as much as I do, I'm sure, even from her distance in Ohio. To her, he was Bubby. I'm grateful we have gained such a special sister-in-law. I'm grateful to have gained such a special sister-in-law. His baby sister Holly died in 2007 from another kind of early dementia, and as he declined this past year, he spoke of her several times as if she were still here. I honestly think she was coming to him and helping him through. Maybe. I could talk all day about my Paulie boy. I bet others could too, especially those who spent years with him as friends, girlfriends, co-workers, and family before I came along. I hope some of you and the church members who quickly came to love him here at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints will share some of your memories as well. We have some time, so a few brief comments, or slightly more than brief if you want. Thank you all for being here, for me and for him. Somehow I think he knows. May God bless his spirit as he learns to serve Jesus Christ on the other side of the veil. Paulie, I love you.